funny how a few days can change everything you thought you knew for certain. That's maybe true any day, any given week, but it's certainly true in this week, what the church marks out as Holy Week, as we retell the events and reenact the stories of what happens between Palm Sunday, the cross, and then the hope of resurrection. It's funny, I've been a member of a church. I've been a Christian for as long as I can remember. Maybe you have been going to church and hearing the stories of Jesus and his death and resurrection since you were a kid. So in a sense, this should be a plot that we know. This is a story we've heard enough. In some form, we rehearse it. We retell it every Sunday in worship. So it's not exactly a surprise. And yet, part of what happens at every turn in the days of Holy Week is that Jesus takes our usual understanding and flips the script and changes our understanding of how we thought the world worked. We heard the hosannas this past Palm Sunday as the crowd watched and cheered for Jesus coming into Jerusalem. And maybe some of them understood and saw this as sort of a parody parade making fun of the Romans and all of their jingoistic military might and bluster, trying to talk a big game. And here comes Jesus sort of letting the air out of all of it, riding on a donkey into town. But some people probably really thought maybe this is the moment we're finally going to have our war against Rome, and Jesus isn't that. So people's expectations from Sunday begin to be flipped as Jesus makes it clear he hasn't come to spark a war, crown himself king, or build himself a new empire, or take back the country for God. None of these things are Jesus' agenda, and some people find their world shaken by that. By the turning point of the week, as everybody is celebrating Passover in Jerusalem, this ancient festival, even ancient back in Jesus' day. It was a celebration of how God had set them free from slavery in Egypt, how God had brought them into the promised land. It was sort of this story of God's amazing, awesome power and of these ancient rituals, right? The unleavened bread and the bitter herbs and all these things that were done and eaten and the stories that were retold. And Jesus then takes those very same elements, the cup sitting on the Passover table, the unleavened bread of the Passover meal, and says, I know that for more than 1,000 years, you all have been eating this bread and retelling the story of being set free from slavery in Egypt. I've come to tell you I'm doing something new with it. This is my body. This cup, this is my blood. Jesus takes the old certainties and turns them upside down, explodes them with new meaning. It's scandalous, really, what Jesus does. And then Jesus takes the old established orders everybody knew about who was great and who was lower, and Jesus turns them upside down when he takes a basin of water and a towel and washes the feet of his own disciples, flipping the script and turning the tables on who's great and who is lowly, on who is the servant and who is being served. Jesus takes all our old established certainties and flips them upside down as he washes his disciples' feet, and then dares his followers, calls and commands his followers, you and me too, to be the kind of people who do that table turning as well, who show greatness and leadership by serving, not by being served, by looking out for others rather than puffing ourselves up. It overturns the apple carts of all the established orders of the day. And then on Friday, we Christians have this audacious claim that what looks like utter defeat of Jesus as the empire puts him to death and the respectable religious people get their way and have Jesus executed for claiming to be God and Messiah. We Christians have been taught to look at that cross and see not Jesus' defeat, but God's surprising victory, that Jesus defeats death by death, that when the empire takes a look at the cross and goes, see, this proves that we win, that we're tougher, we're better, because look, we killed him, we silenced him, we stopped him. Christians look at the cross and go, no, you don't understand. This is God's victory. Humanity did the worst we could to Jesus, And Jesus didn't give up on us. Jesus didn't bail out or beam up to heaven or say, that's it, I don't want to suffer anymore. Jesus meets only our human evil and rottenness and cruelty. Jesus absorbs it and doesn't answer evil for evil, doesn't return hatred with hatred, but instead dies praying forgiveness on those who are crucifying him and offering up his life for a whole world full of us sinners and mess-ups, even when we've got the hammer and nails in our hands. Jesus flips the script on all that we expected was true. And then there is this awesome and terrible silence on Saturday. This year, when we gather to celebrate the Easter Vigil in that Holy Saturday moment, we'll be over joining our neighbors at Zion Lutheran in Waterville for a joint worship service that lives in that tension between Friday and Saturday's sorrow and the beginnings of hope of resurrection morning, with the stories that lead up to that all retold to help us see how all these ancient threads all converge in Jesus. And then finally on Easter morning, Jesus turns the greatest table of them all. The one thing we've been taught to take as unshakable and undeniable, the reality of death, Jesus breaks open. And how does the old line go? There's only two certain things in life, death and taxes. And here comes Jesus undoing the power of death, rising from the dead. This week, even if you've been going to these worship services of Holy Week, even if you've read the story 100 times before, they have a way of shaking everything up and taking all that we thought we knew and turning them on their heads. That's what it is to be the followers of Jesus who watch and participate in the story we call Holy Week. So we invite you to be a part of each of those worship moments on Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday here at Community of Christ at 7 o'clock, to be with us at the Easter Vigil at Zion Lutheran in Waterville on Saturday at 7, and to be with us on Easter Sunday as Jesus undoes the one certainty we thought couldn't be changed. Death itself gets broken open by Jesus in his resurrection. This is what it is, really, to live on the edge as followers of Jesus, to let Jesus perpetually surprise us and to take all the things we thought were certain, throw them up in the air and do something new. Join us along the way for that journey in the difficult moments, the sorrowful moments, the beautiful moments, the poignant moments, and the ones that fill us with such joy, it brings tears to our eyes. Come along the way for us this week here at Holy Week. We'll see you then.